Welcome to the Aceman, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for downloading us. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate it so very much. And if you have a moment, please give us that 5-star written review wherever you download your podcast. It's a great way to help the podcast. If you want to help us out another way, tell a friend. We all learn about podcasts from our friends' recommendations, and that's a way you can help us out by recommending us to a friend.
And the last way, if you really enjoy the show, is to go to our Patreon page and become a patron. And that is at www.patreon.com/behindthefunny. And what that will get you, it's one simple giving level, $5 a month. That will get you a t-shirt or a mug, some sort of merchandise, as well as unlocking bonus content that only our patrons can access.
Thank you so much for supporting us. If you want to reach out, you got a question for us, you got a comment, anything, please send us an email at behindthefunnypod@gmail.com.
And now, enjoy the show.
Be careful. He's
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Oh.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
And we begin Ace's favorite month.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's Scottober, folks.
Yeah.
Scott is not happy. I am ecstatic because
No.
we are starting Scottober off with a bang.
It's a weird time for me because
Yeah.
I love the people I'm with. If we want to discuss where to get the best burger in the United States, I'm all in. But that's not what we're going to discuss.
No, we're going to discuss some stuff that I missed last year.
Yes.
Because I had a vacation. I can't say I was working. So I was on vacation last year. I was trying to listen in from a cigar bar, and I was commenting. I was thoroughly enjoying the show, but I didn't get to meet our guests until afterwards when we went to the Ocean State Paracon.
Yes.
And so...
But Ace decided to pair our bourbon with our subject matter.
Yes.
That was well thought out.
This entire month, our bourbon date will have something to do with paranormal. Wow. And so tonight, we're doing Angel's Envy. Angel's Envy, which is funny. Because, you know,
exactly. He's
growing up,
theme.
I had Catholic friends who didn't believe in ghosts, but they believed in angels. And I'm like, it's just a ghost with wings.
Sure.
It's a ghost who drank a Red Bull. So, can you tell how excited I am?
You are.
I am very, very excited. Because we're starting off Scottober with a bang with two of my favorite guests that I wasn't even here for last year.
Absolutely.
But
I love these two. I honestly do.
We really do. And so welcome to the Behind the Fun. Welcome back to Behind the Funny. Cody Ray Desbiens. Did I say it right? Or Des? Do you say the Des?
It's Desbiens, but he'll answer anything.
But it's like thespians.
I always say yes, right.
Now I'll remember.
See,
because I remember Master Thespian.
Thespians.
Acting. Thank you. Genius. I'm so shot out of a cannon. I'm so excited.
No, keep stalling while I drink more bourbon to get prepared for this. Please.
No. and so this is the paranormal couple, Cody Ray Desbiens and Satori Hawes. I don't mess your name up because we go way back to the garage.
Oh yes,
When I met you,
that was the first
And
time.
cheers
I think
to
that was
our
the
guests.
first time I met you. Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Her dad had brought
Cheers,
her in her
welcome.
car to the garage.
I gotcha.
Cheers.
Clink, 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 clink.
Satori's like, I didn't even open anything.
No,
What am
I
I?
have an unopened seltzer.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
okay.
don't drink it all at once.
And
yes.
as you can see, for those of you that are joining us, and I know one of our super fans, Jen, Monday wished me happy Scottober.
I love it.
And
I
Jen
love
is
it.
actually the one that came up with the name Scottober, so I have to give her credit. Our friends brought special
Some
items
stuff, but wait.
with them. And you'll notice as I've been talking, I've been creeping closer and closer to
I know,
Ace.
right?
Because my buddy Tom, who is not welcome back after tonight.
No, he is our co-host
Yes.
for the entire
He
month
is-
of
he is,
Scottober.
as they say in radio, the third mic for all of
Yes,
Scottober.
I'm the fifth wheel tonight.
Yes.
Just
is
said that
fine.
this would be the best spot for this. So should we start with this item
We
tonight?
can start with it if you want.
So
Or
let's-
did you have a
Well, I
question
just
first?
wanted to kind of
have to
reintroduce
jump
them
right
to the
into it.
audience. Listen,
He's like, get this over with.
Yeah,
Get
I
this
know.
over with.
I'm
Listen,
trying to wrap this up by
you
6:45.
don't understand. I booked no.
20-minute show.
I want to be watching Wheel of Fortune by 7 o'clock,
I confirm
which
with
is Tom's
them.
favorite show.
I confirm with them. They're booked for 2.5 hours. They've got more
Go.
stuff in the suitcase.
Oh,
No. How many suitcases did they bring?
Oh, they got 3 more in the car.
We only brought one.
They walked in. Cody had this massive suitcase. I go, yes, big suitcase.
Yeah.
So
This is all partly my fault because
Not
Right.
partly.
So let's-
no, take partly out of that
for
sentence.
those.
what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago?
Yes, for those that
You
don't,
like, hey, it's
started
October.
this entire
trying to host.
trend
How about I
4
call
years
in?
ago.
I'm trying
I'll tell
to
a couple
host.
of
I'm
my
just here.
spooky
Yeah,
stories
me
from
too.
my podcast, and then it turned into this.
Yeah, we had a cute little night with Tom
Yeah.
telling us about this
Let's
little side
scare
interest
Scott
he
a
had in
little bit.
paranormal investigations, and you've ruined my
Next
life.
thing you know, you're in
Oh.
haunted houses and sitting next to haunted dolls. So this is where we're at.
Yes.
You fell down the rabbit hole.
For those that didn't know, our Scottober started 4 years ago. We decided, hey, for October, Halloween theme.
Let's do-
I'll
let's do a
how about-
episode.
How about I tell the story there?
but you got to say, let's do a.
That's what I
episode.
said.
A.
Let's
episode.
do an episode with our buddy Tom. He can cross promote his very, very good podcast, My Paranormal Story.
Excellent podcast.
And we had him come on, and he, we listened to EVPs, and it's the first time I've seen my co-host quiet for more than 3 seconds. And he was quiet for a good half hour, and I looked over, and his head had beads of sweat all over it. And I said, "You're awfully quiet." And he goes, "I don't like this shit."
Oh.
And Scottober was born.
Yeah.
So now we have a whole month worth of guests, and we're so happy that you guys are back. That you guys, like I said, were on last year and had some great artifacts. So tell the audience a little bit about how you got into paranormal, how you got into what you guys do specifically with paranormal with the museum.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, Satori, I'll let her speak, but I know she was brought up in the field. I was a
from
bit
royalty.
different. Yes. Yeah.
Have you been watching what is it, House of Dragon? She
Yeah.
is
She's
Rhaenyra's. She's heir apparent.
But I didn't have that cool of a dad. My dad's awesome, but I didn't have a
Your
ghost
dad's
hunting
probably
dad.
listening right now. Like, really?
You son of a bitch! You're uninvited to Thanksgiving.
Your dad didn't have his own TV show?
He didn't. No,
I thought everyone's dad did.
Just had office job.
Oh, come on, guys.
But I grew up in a house that was haunted, and it definitely had experiences. And I lived on the second floor of this house with my parents, only child, and on the first floor was my grandparents. Came over on the ship from Italy with this big painting of Christ. And whenever I'd walk by it, it would kind of, freak me out sometimes. Now, this painting belonged to my great-great-grandfather over in Italy, and then it was passed down throughout the family to the sons, and eventually ended up with my grandfather. And the story was always told to me as I was growing up. I would sometimes walk in on him at night while he was praying, and I would kind of back off because I knew this was his time. And then, he'd tell me, come in and tell me this story about the painting that when his great-grandfather was on his deathbed, he would pray to this painting every single night. And he claimed that one night the painting started talking to him and telling him that everything was going to be okay. He had nothing to worry about when he died, and he was going to have a peaceful transition. So that's the story that was always told to me. It was passed down to his son. Nothing happened with it, and then ended up with my grandfather. And when he was on his deathbed, the same thing happened pretty much. He
Really?
was praying to the painting. He claimed that the painting started talking, telling him that his mother was going to come and get him, and he would have a peaceful transition. And then once he passed away, the painting was given to me. And that was the first time that I had ever heard about an object having some sort of attachment, and it hasn't talked to me yet, which I guess is good.
Yes.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. He only shows up on the deathbed, so you
Yeah,
may
so
want
that's not good.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
You know
so-
what's hilarious is the fact that you said that your grandparents lived upstairs, and I immediately knew you were Italian.
There you go. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole haunted object thing started.
Yep.
And the whole museum kind of started by accident. When everybody went into lockdown, we started really pushing social media.
Because we already had some items from cases and things like that.
Yeah, we had a small collection from different cases, and we started making videos about paranormal stuff. And once in a while, we would make a video about one of the few things that we had.
Yeah.
And that seemed to really stick with the public for some reason. They really loved the paranormal videos and the haunted object videos. So we started saying, okay, if they like this, let's just keep pushing this and make more videos about the stuff we have. And then people just started sending us
shit
from around the world.
And then we started because we feel like we're a foster home for them.
Right.
People always that's what makes us different. When everybody asks, we always say that person always has the right to their item. It's their item. We're just taking care of it for them when they feel that they can't or can't have it in their home anymore. So we have items that are family heirlooms passed down from all around the world. Everything you could think of, we probably have some iteration of it in the museum.
Wow.
So yeah, we've become like a foster home.
So how did the I love this month. How did how did you first get those first few artifacts? Like, how did people just decide to say, "Hey, I'm going to send this to them"?
Well,
Was it you were on investigations or
investigation? It was actually TAPS cases. So
okay?
of course, Satori's dad founded the group's TAPS, and that's how I ended up meeting her dad before I met Satori.
Yep.
And we would go on private cases, and once in a while, we've come across a case that the object seemed to be the catalyst of the haunting. Whether it truly was haunted, the client believed that what was going on. So we removed it from the home. And if it's just something psychological, removing that is going to make the situation better.
Right. It's like the placebo effect.
Right. So not everything in the museum is haunted.
Yeah.
Everything has a story, but not everything is haunted. We don't believe everything is haunted. So that's how the small collection started. And it's rare you come across a case that has a haunted object or somebody claiming there's something haunted.
Right.
But once you reach the level of people that TikTok can get you to right now,
Right.
it raises those odds a lot higher. And people.
Satori's face just lit up
Well-
when she said that.
Well,
when
when
you said that.
he was like, not everything in our museum's haunted. I just want to go, well, Scott, the one sitting next to you is in the top 5 most haunted. So I just wanted to let you know.
That was the funniest part of last year is when he goes, if you pull a fucking doll out of that suitcase, and Satori was like, oh, this is going to be really interesting.
Oh, no. I was like, we're not going to.
No.
Dolls are always the creepiest things.
Don't call her creepy. She's sitting right next
You're
to
gonna
you.
piss her off.
She's,
Let me-
she's number 3, I think. Of
Is
the
she
most.
really?
Yeah.
And the one that you brought last year, that's got to be number 1.
Oh,
That
yes.
was number
Yep.
1,
She's
yeah.
number 1.
What's her name again?
Liza.
Liza. Yes.
Is that Liza in the case?
No, this is number 2.
I don't. I'm like not even glancing.
So
over
last
the
year
top
was
of the
number
case.
1.
Last
This
year
year's
wasn't
number
even-
2 and 3.
We're just going to keep working our way.
Yeah. Casey and counting them down.
And now the most haunted objects in the museum.
Every year they're getting new stuff too. So
Yeah,
they're
right?
back with the new stuff.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think the most impressive thing about last year was it was after the show, and I wish we had the capabilities to figure out how to do it, but it wasn't so much when you had I mean, that was scary enough when you pulled Liza out of the
Oh, yeah.
suitcase, passed her around,
Told the story
and
of
told
her.
the story. But when when you guys showed him, Tom took a video of you guys showing him Liza moving at 2:30 in the morning on her own, and I saw that video and I was like, "Wow!" And
You
he's
didn't
like,
say wow. You were laughing your ass
well,
off.
because I'm watching you, and you're like, "Oh, you're shitting."
Well, it's not just the doll that fell over. She sits herself
Yes,
up.
it's a
she
yeah,
turns
right.
her head and
And
moves
lifts
to the side
herself
and lifts
up.
herself
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the
creepy.
creepiest thing I have ever
I said-
seen in my life.
I said, "Wow!" when I saw the video that they showed
oh yeah,
you.
yeah. You saw saw the
I
actual
laughed my
video.
ass off when I saw the video of you watching that.
That literally was the creepiest thing. I mean,
was
when
crazy.
when we first started going down this path 4 years ago with Tom, hearing some EVPs and stuff like that
Sure.
was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
When you hear that for the first time.
Yeah.
And so as you get deeper into this and you get different types of evidence, it gets creepier and creepier. That still was the creepiest thing I have seen
It
so
just
far.
gets weirder and weirder.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
The deeper you go down that rabbit hole,
Oh, yeah.
and the more evidence you see, it's like the stranger it gets, and the more it's like, oh my God. And literally there are times when we've had guests on or we've talked with Tom about stuff where he'll look over at my arms and I got goosebumps and the
That's
hair
gonna happen.
standing up.
That's gonna
and it's
happen
like-
That's going to happen
It's gonna
tonight.
happen. And you know what's strange? You picked the
Angel's Envy.
and this is a tree topper angel that we're going to be talking about.
All right, I need more.
So that's a little
Awesome.
strange coincidence.
All right, but let's talk
That
about.
bottle's going to be empty soon.
It's funny. Yeah.
just with me.
He's going to be drinking out of the bottle in a minute.
Yep.
So one of our watchers, who's the redhead in the middle? She's a doll. Everyone thinks everyone's a comedian on this podcast.
Oh, God.
Now, can I ask a quick
Yeah.
question about your items? I don't know if I've asked you this before, but do you do anything personally to try to block yourself from anything?
Yes.
Or like after handling it, do you do anything ceremonial or?
Because we've talked about with some other guests, there is sometimes transference with certain things, isn't there?
It's, everybody does things a little bit differently. Like some museums like to wear things over their hands when touching their items. Some museums always have everything blessed with a specific faith all the time. Our museum is a little bit different. So we handle our items with our hands. We just announce ahead of time. And I think, talking to spirits kind of does help. But we say, we have these set of ground rules. You're not allowed to come to any other part of the museum. You're not allowed to go with anybody that comes within our space. You can come and go, but only to leave the museum and be in the museum. You're not allowed to wander. And we have these strict rules, and it seems that they listen to that. They kind of really stay within the museum. So it's kind of a little chaotic, all the activity happening in one space. As for protecting ourselves, we have kind of like two different, I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely two different angles. Of course, I was brought up Roman Catholic, so I'm more the prayer cards and that type of deal, and Satori's more of the crystals and
Metaphysical.
metaphysical side
Yeah,
of things.
like I'm wearing a
Are you-
protection bottle around my neck right now, like just little
Scott's
things
like,
like
can
that.
you get me one of those?
Like
He's
just
got
little
his cross.
things.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
Are
mostly
you a green witch?
but we're more like protect, we just have our ground rules and they
Yeah.
listen to it. We're very strict about it. And it seems that they're like, okay, you respect us,
respect.
we respect you. That's kind
How
of
would you
mutual.
enforce the rules if you had to, though?
There have been a couple times. Well, we have like a quarantine space, so sometimes if objects are interacting with each other more negatively, we'll move one to the quarantine space for a while. It's almost like timeout.
I was going to say it's a ghost.
It sounds like
timeout.
you have like young kids that are misbehaving. You're going in the quarantine
And
Sometimes it
space.
seems like that.
Yeah.
Not to disrespect any of them,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's like you're handling kids.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like sometimes things will just go flying across the room, and you're like, you need to chill out. You need to chill out. Take a minute to chill out, and we're like, okay.
I'm just saying right now, if any of your items go flying across the room, podcast over.
Well, I mean, like some little, like we had a battery fly across the room not too
Yeah.
long ago.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
So like little things,
Mm-hmm.
it's more like an attention
It doesn't.
grabbing.
It could be a feather. It's not supposed to go. It's not the end of the Forrest Gump movie,
But they're good for the most part. It's not the dark room items. We didn't bring any of the dark room items. Those
Okay.
we're like, we cleanse every chance we get.
You have
We-
a dark room.
Yeah, we keep
Yeah.
that away from these items.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah, that's like occult items, items from mass death situations,
Oh, wow.
things like that. We keep those
Wow.
Do
separated.
you ever display them to the public?
If they sign off that they're mentally sound and they know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, you have to sign a
That's
waiver
not
or
something you
something.
put
yeah.
up at
It's-
the expos or anything?
They're not allowed. We don't even be in our dark room for more than 45 minutes because
Okay.
we're like, okay, this is too much energy.
Wow.
So then
you feel it when you're
Yes.
in that room?
Oh, I want to go to the
Yeah.
Wow, I know. Field trip next year.
live on location.
Live on location, yeah.
the
Screw the
dark room.
asement.
Yeah.
That's a 15-minute episode.
That'll be the most
Now-
action-packed 15 minutes.
I know,
What-
right?
what kind of items are in the dark room?
So can I name one of them?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys don't want to talk about it, that's
absolutely.
fine.
We're
I'm just
talking about it.
So we have, like some items that are claimed like people have died while looking at them. We have a couple of those. We have a couple items from cults. For example, Jonestown. Was
Yeah,
Kool-Aid.
God,
we
yeah.
have 2 cups that were recovered from
Really?
Jonestown.
from the actual Jonestown in Guyana.
Yeah.
We have items
Heaven's
recovered
Gate.
from Heaven's Gate cult where they all wore
Yeah.
the purple
Oh,
shroud.
yeah,
we have
yeah.
pieces of the purple shrouds and things
Wow.
like that. So items
It's
that
gotta
are
be
from
crazy energy around
serial
those.
killers,
Yeah.
which we're not
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to promote the serial killers. We always
No.
have because we're like keep the victims' names alive, and we're going to show you that there's energy attached to the item. So
Right.
we always have their names on the entryway of the museum, and when you come in, it's really just the purpose of showing you that there's energy attached to the items from these situations.
But it's surrounding deaths that were under real stress or,
Yes.
or duress.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So it's that type of energy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not so much that the objects are, possessed by a spirit or have a spirit following them. It's more that
it's
the
just
energy is just
intense
kind of
negative energy
Yeah.
People
around
just
that.
feel really like either sad or
Right.
anxious or angry.
We
around
do
certain
not
things.
allow photos in that section too, because we did have one showing and there were photos. Somebody took a photo when we said we didn't allow that, and they said they freaked out, and I've never seen somebody so afraid. They said it looked like somebody came out of the wall and charged at them while they were trying to take a photo of that item, and then sunk into the floor.
Really?
And they freaked out. They fell backwards, and they were like, "I'm not taking a photo." So we started the rule like you can't take photos. You can only be in there a certain amount of time. So yeah, the energy is a lot more intense in that section.
Well, with those type of items, I
Yes.
can only imagine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's crazy that people had these at one time, and then
Right.
they couldn't take
And we're
it.
not on the lookout for these things, really. It's more like people
People
find
just send
us.
it.
Well,
Right.
especially now that you have a reputation and people know about you. That's
Yeah.
why, like, you had a good question in the beginning. How did you start? Because you didn't have a reputation yet.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, we're definitely not the only ones that do this. There are plenty of museums, and we're friends with most of them. And the goal isn't to get the biggest collection out there or anything like that.
No, it's just to help the people
Right,
that need the
exactly.
help, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Early this year, I went to the Zach Baggins Museum out in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he's got a lot
Does
of
he?
it's a lot of murder type
Dark stuff,
mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got like Kevorkian's van and
Really?
yeah, the actual van right there in the museum, and just different things like that, and a lot of like items that were related to people's tragic deaths, like James
Yeah.
Dean's car, things like that.
Oh, wow.
Like a piece of his car.
It's that trauma energy.
He's
Right,
got like
yeah.
he's got like outfits that like Robin Williams wore, and people who like have committed suicide, things like that. But I think your museum would be more interesting than his. Yours is more seriously though, but his was like maybe 30% paranormal, and the rest of it was like true crime.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yours seems to be a lot more paranormal.
Right. There's true energy around these
But
objects.
I feel like you guys do a lot more real world investigating than he does. I think he just does the TV stuff.
Yeah, 90, I would say like 90% of our items are all from cases. And, there's that small percentage where people have just given us items. They've shown up at our door without any announcements, things
And like
that.
you said, it's not like you put out a want ad on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Please send us your
We're not like
haunted
putting
shit.
out our
Yeah.
address or P.O. box
Right.
saying, please
They-
send us this.
They get them like a baby on the firehouse steps. People are just leaving
we
them
did
off.
have a box
Well,
just
in a
recently.
wicker
Please
basket.
take care of this.
Didn't you say last year, was it Liza, that like someone tried to get rid of her and then
Oh,
the
yeah.
garbage man
Oh, yeah, that
found
was
her
Liza,
and,
yeah.
and brought her back?
Yeah.
Like,
That
he felt like
happened.
he couldn't get rid of her, and
Yeah.
then he disappeared after giving us the item. And we just recently had a box a couple weeks ago that showed up at our door, and on it, all it said was, "Good luck, your problem now."
No problem now.
And
yeah.
Nice.
we didn't give our address. We
No
never
return
contacted.
address,
No return
nothing.
address. Nothing else in it. So
and
we
it
had
was
to
this
just put them-
doll.
It was a couple of other dolls.
That's weird because I did that with my kids when they were little. And they returned too. So it's weird.
That's
weird.
crazy. So let's talk about what's her name?
This is Jolene.
Jolene.
Jolene came from a preschool in
Not
Connecticut.
going to take my man.
She
Well.
came from a well, yeah, I know.
Preschool in Connecticut.
Yep, a preschool in Connecticut. She was actually found at the owners of the preschool's home or
house.
the work
So
of
yeah,
the preschool.
she had moved to Connecticut. Mm-hmm. She bought this brand new house. She used to have a daycare in her basement at her old house. So she bought this new house in Connecticut. She moves in, and this was left in the attic of the house. And she says, wow, I'm opening up a brand new building here in Connecticut. I think this will go great in the play section.
And so they take Jolene, they put her with the, in the toys with the children. The children loved Jolene immediately. They were sharing toys with her, having like one-sided conversations as if Jolene was an imaginary friend that they had, and things like that.
She's probably their size.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Yeah.
in all
No,
seriousness,
yeah.
it's not like a little tiny doll. It's like
it's like
a
a
doll like
huggable
the size
friend.
of a 4 or 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So, the preschool's done for the day. She puts Jolene on a chair. It's like a metal chair and, locks up everything. She comes back and notices the next day that Jolene's no longer in the chair that she was sat. She's across the room sitting with toys in another position in another section. And this freaked her out. But she thought maybe somebody was playing a prank on me. So she asks everybody else that, teaches or works around that area, did you prank us? Did you move Jolene? Did you prank me? That's not funny. Own up to it. And they said, no, there was no way we could have pranked you. You're the only one that could get in and out after locking up. So we wanted to, we wouldn't have been able to do that anyway. So she tries to forget about it. She picks everything up. Another period of time goes by, sits Jolene back on the chair, leaves the room, comes back, and Jolene's no longer on her chair again. This happened a couple times. She's in different positions, different sections. The children were hysterical. They were claiming that Jolene was calling them names and not sharing with them anymore, and having they were crying with this doll. It was like everything changed. Jolene's personality completely changed. So this freaked out the owner so much with the movement and the children being hysterical that she contacted us. She contacted Cody and was saying, I'm not going back into that area until you get Jolene and get her out. Wow. So she told Cody what to find. He went in, took her out, and then they went about their business. And everything seems okay since then. And in the museum, she's in the top 5 because we cannot keep her still.
Really?
Yes, she'll always move. The first time it happened, we had taken her off her chair that we put her in the museum to change a light bulb to use the chair to stand on. And when we looked back in the section, she was no longer there. She was actually across the room in one of our spinny chairs where we do our live streams with her legs crossed, like she was a little upset.
Is someone upstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say I heard that.
We get an EVP.
My daughter came home. I saw Cody and Tom were like, get the equipment out.
I'm like, what is the noise I'm hearing?
We're doing an EVP session.
You guys just scared the shit out of me. Oh, Tom's head.
Me and Cody are like,
Tom's head fucking turned and he was like, what is that? And I'm like
Dobermans our ears.
you're talking about a doll that moves in the middle of that.
Holy shit. God, I'm sorry.
No,
Go
it's
ahead,
fine.
Satori.
That was
Finish.
just one occurrence. She's
Yeah.
always moving. We find her in other sections where around other idols and statues and other dolls. She has a lot of character. She actually had both of her shoes when we got her, I believe, but one shoe went missing after one movement. We haven't been able to find it since. She had one shoe on, but she moved again and lost her other shoe and brought it back. So we said, might as well not do that because we're going to be looking around Ace's house for a shoe. So
That would be so cool. I would love that.
So we brought her without her shoes.
That'd be so cool if next week we got Tom back here and her shoe is hanging up on the wall or something.
But yeah,
that's
she
so
moves
cool.
a lot.
And so have you ever seen her, because I know you've got cameras in the museum.
Yes.
Have you seen her physically move, or she just ends up in different places?
Every
You've never
time,
seen it.
every time we pointed a camera at Jolene, especially after this first time, nothing happens. Nothing. It's like she knows
She's
when the
camera
camera's
shy.
on her. Yeah, exactly.
But there
Unlike
was
Liza, who doesn't give a shit.
Right.
Yes. There was one time though we were at an event and she was sitting in a chair, and we don't set her in a metal chair anymore during events because she slid down on the chair while we were taking a break, and but the thing is she swung her arms under and caught herself from the back legs of the chair like this.
Yes.
And she was hanging off of it, and the woman screamed. She was like, "You did that!" And I'm across the room like, I don't even know what happened. I'm still
Yeah.
trying to assess the situation. But she moved one time, and that's freaked people out. too
I
much.
remember you telling me that at Paracon last year, because you had her at Ocean State
Yes, we
Paracon
did.
last year.
Yeah.
And she was in a chair.
You okay?
I need a drink.
over.
Oh, that's
Scott's
nothing.
going to be sleeping over tonight. I'm too shit-faced to drive.
She caught herself in a chair.
In a chair.
Yeah.
In
I remember
public.
you telling me
Yeah,
that last
she did.
year.
She did.
That is crazy.
Yeah, there were a bunch of witnesses to that one.
Yeah.
Where did the Jolene name come from?
That
It was given to her.
it was
Yeah.
just
I don't
given
know.
Dolly
to her.
Parton song.
Probably. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
what's
guessing.
You're a
funny-
DJ. You should know this
Well,
stuff.
I know the song.
Oh,
I wasn't
okay.
sure
What's
if somebody
funny
named her or.
is we have people write anonymous notes box and put
That's
them in a
right,
what
yeah.
happened box. We found so many, mostly men. There's a small percentage of women, but mostly men say that they've been attracted to just like coming in and looking at Jolene. Like their attention's grabbed by Jolene.
Really?
They feel like they're supposed to interact with Jolene, say hi to Jolene. So it seems that men, for some reason, which is really funny.
Every hey, baby. Jolene's going to be choking me in 5 minutes. All right. Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's going to be a little flash on the screen,
Yeah,
and she'll be
right.
sitting in your lap.
Sitting on my lap. Yeah, right. Wow.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. So
Now,
that's
how long
Jolene.
have you had her?
2000.
I'm trying to think of the case file.
17 or 18? 'Cause it
17
was-
or 18, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
like 5 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, she's a good one. She's been around since before we really even announced that we had a museum now.
Okay.
So she's among some of the older ones. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. She's,
Has she been in timeout?
Jolene?
I couldn't keep her in timeout, to be
Yeah.
honest. She listens to not leaving the museum. She listens to not having any negative interactions with other people. It's just we can't keep her in one spot in one
spot.
section. You know, she
Yeah.
just doesn't like being in one spot for too long. So
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's weird, but that's nothing.
no,
That's nothing.
That's nothing. That's nothing story-wise, for sure.
Which one do you want next?
You brought the items.
Well-
Which
so
one do you do next?
Let's save her.
this
Let's
looks like the
save
shopping
her,
network.
because that's the
Save her?
second one.
Okay.
Right? Because that's number 2.
You want this?
Yeah, let's do the
No,
rosary.
but I like how this is set up like the shopping network. If you call within the next 5 minutes, we'll not only throw in the crucifix, but
throw
you're going to
in
get the clown doll
creepy
as well.
clown doll. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you creepy. You just looked at me.
His head just turned.
It's fine. We had one person in the museum, and we have to say, please do not provoke any of the items. One guy walked into one of our museum showings and just went, blah, 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 and then
my
walked
gosh,
out.
yeah.
And he skipped the line, walked up
Yeah,
to an
what the
item,
hell is
and
up
like
with
did
that?
that. So you guys are the nicer among some of the people that have.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
I feel like
No,
you probably have to deal
One
with
thing
that.
I will say that I've learned over the past years of going down and learning this stuff from Tom, and watching like people that do investigations, experiencing Ken DaCosta doing his is respecting the space, respecting anything that might, any entity that might be there with you. Understanding that you're sharing this time in the space with them.
I just hope he's doing good now. I hope that guy's okay.
No, but
But that was one of
I've
the-
just noticed that there's a lot of mutual respect.
There is.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's
Well,
one of the things that I
think
try
you'll
to
get
do.
better results by doing that.
Right.
Exactly.
That's how
That's
I've
what
always
you've
felt.
said all
Yeah.
along
And
since
I-
the beginning.
And I
so-
remember Ken saying it too. Think about it. Like you're going into someone else's
Stranger.
house.
Yeah.
You're a
Would
guest.
you want someone
You're a
else
guest.
walking into your house going, "Hey, come at me, bro"?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hear you.
So
It's
the
like a pet
nicer
peeve
you
of
are,
mine.
yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I would be the same way.
Yeah.
You have to respect the people. When we went in, and we were going to talk about it later on this month when Ken comes in, but we did an investigation at the Payne House, and we were very respectful of. Wow, I can't believe like how many people have walked through these doors
Yeah.
hundreds of years.
Yep,
I would
literally.
never think of being disrespectful for them.
Yeah.
To them,
I agree.
this is their house.
Yeah, I've
That's
never
right.
understood how people can be that way too. But it's like,
Yeah.
I've always looked at it as treating spirits like a stray dog. You want to try to befriend it and have it be friendly back to you, and
Right.
you'll get better results. By yelling at it or provoking it, you're either going to get an angry reaction or a frightened reaction, and that's not going to help you in your investigation.
Right. It's good for TV, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
They're
well, that's
looking
what
at
it is
each
for the
other and
TV.
grinning.
Oh no, he was
she
just
was-
being weird.
she
I
was
don't know what
watching
he was
the
doing.
Go down.
Oh, okay. When he said stray dog, the two of you looked at each other. I go,
Yeah.
they got a dog in the bag. They're going to break out
Just
Satan
you wait.
spawn in a
They're gonna
second.
provoke
Hey,
something. any
let us
minute
bring
now.
out Sparky. He was stuffed in 1987.
Hell's hound is in their
right.
bag over there.
It's
or
a three-headed dog. Come on.
Hey, maybe.
Fluffy.
something. All right, so you got a crucifix and a clown. You're dealer's
Well,
choice.
it's rosaries, right?
Rosary.
Yeah.
Rosary beads.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what's the story on
Okay.
those?
These
All
are
right,
a
Scott.
new addition. Some of the newer ones.
You're going to get the chills on this one.
I like how you got a display for it too.
Yeah.
I would say that you're assuming, but you're dead on.
No,
You're dead on.
You're gonna
No, it
because
gives me
this one
chills.
gives us
Yeah.
the chills.
Did you guys steal this from Macy's? Is what?
Yeah.
Yeah, Macy's,
stand?
JCPenney,
Yeah,
those
right.
two, Yeah. Yep. So
He went to Jared's. Sorry, I had to lighten the mood a little bit.
Nice.
that's funny.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody.
No. That's
All right. So a single mother in Alabama. She has 2 small children, and the children are at school, and she's waiting for them to come off the bus. So she's running around the house trying to finish up some last-minute chores before they get off the bus. And, she's kind of becoming frantic. She has to make them a snack. She has to take care of the dog, feed the dog, let him out. And in walks her mother. Now, this wasn't unusual. She lived about 30 minutes away. She would always stop in and out unannounced because, she's the kid's grandmother. But this day was weird because it was a Wednesday. Now, the reason why it was strange was the mother, the grandmother, would always go to church twice a week. She would go every Wednesday to do her rosary beads and every Sunday to go to regular church service.
Mass.
So she walks in on a Wednesday, and the daughter's like, "Ma, why are you here? How come you're not at church today?" And she holds up the rosary bead, and she goes, I have a headache today, and I've been going twice a week for decades. God's not going to get mad if I miss one day. So they have a laugh, and she goes, well, I'm trying to do all this stuff. I have to make the kid snack. I have to let the dog out. And the mother goes, let me handle the dog. I'll feed the dog and let the dog outside, and you worry about the kid's snack. So they say, okay, they agree on it, and they have a conversation and catch up. She starts hearing the school bus come down the street. So the daughter says to mother, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get the kids off the bus. So she walks to the end of the driveway. The kids get off the bus, and she tells the kids, oh, Grandma's here. They get really excited, so they start walking back towards the house. When they walk back, the daughter's cell phone rings, and it's her sister. And the sister says, I've been trying to reach you for the past hour, but the phone line has been busy. Who you been on the phone with? She goes, I haven't been on the phone. So she says, well, I hate to tell you this, but we found Mom had passed away in her sleep last night.
Wow.
So she drops the phone and runs inside the house and finds that the dog has been let outside, the dog bowl is filled with food, and the mother's rosary beads are sitting on the counter.
Wow. She had one last visit.
And that's
Yeah.
what she thinks. She thinks it was her mom's way of saying goodbye, and I'm okay.
I'm still here for you.
Yes,
but
and so she wanted to donate these rosaries to the
That's
museum.
such a common phenomenon.
It is, yeah. Crisis apparition.
Crisis apparition.
Yeah.
It's happened
So many times.
people.
Yeah.
was it you that said it? An uncle passed away and you saw him drive by
Ken.
in a car?
That was
That wasn't
Ken.
me,
Oh,
That's
Ken
Yeah.
said it.
That's Ken.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a crisis apparition.
So she thinks that it's a good story to have and an item to display in the museum to say that your loved ones are not gone when they pass on, and sometimes they're just really checking in on you. So
So these are probably pretty old.
Yeah,
yes,
oh, yeah.
and
You
there's
can
a
tell they've been repaired at one
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can touch them. Yeah, absolutely.
I wanna touch your stuff.
they went through quarantine. They're good. Nothing's going on.
What do you think this is made of?
Wow.
I'm
Looks
not
like
sure.
mahogany.
Yeah, mahogany
Yeah,
maybe.
it's some
Yeah,
sort of-
Mahogany
Like a cherry
beads.
wood.
dark cherry. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Wow.
But yeah, something that she cared a lot about, obviously, and
Scott, put it on.
Not happening.
It's an interesting story, though.
I mean, it's it's nice in a way that she can kind of resolve things and have that final moment and everything like that. And it's not like you said, I've heard other stories like that. I have family members that have had stories like
Similar stories.
Yeah, my father-in-law, when his younger brother passed away, had a moment very similar.
yeah,
To
it
that.
happy to so many people.
So it's I've heard that type of story before.
Oh yeah,
I had a couple. When my father passed away, I got something in the mail from him like 7 days later. And nobody knows about him mailing it. He had been in the hospital for a while. Him and I hadn't been in touch for years.
Yeah.
And all I got was a little Post-it that said, call me, scribbled on it. And it was put in an envelope, but I didn't receive it for like over a week later. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know if it was like someone at the hospital sent it or if he sent it before he died, but I don't know why it would take so long to get to me.
get to
it was
you.
a really weird thing because him and I hadn't spoken in years.
Oh, really?
I don't even know how he knew my address. And so, yeah, that was a weird one for me. But yeah, crisis apparition happens to everybody.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and and then there are people who say, is it just your mind kind of playing tricks, but how can your mind play a trick on something it doesn't know happened?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how can
That's
your mind
what's
play a trick
crazy.
on the dog being let out, the
Exactly.
dog food being
on
filled?
that part of it is that's not your mind playing a trick.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yes.
And the bead showing up. They somehow teleported 30 minutes away from her mother's
From her
house,
mom's
too.
house.
Well, Star Trek explained how
That's
that
it. Yeah,
happened.
that's true. That's true. I forgot about
So,
that
you
one.
know,
Yeah.
I can explain. Come on, Cody. We
all-
can explain that.
We all know the transporter theory.
Thank you.
That's
Hello.
it. Yeah.
That's a
Molecular.
really generous donation to.
It is.
Wow.
very
It is,
much.
yeah.
to you
We
guys,
feel
though,
like
too.
that
It
was
is.
an honor to be given to
Yeah.
us. So.
Absolutely, because for someone to want to donate something that's kind of a positive
Yeah, right.
And a
story,
family heirloom.
and
Something
yeah,
so
a family
good story,
heirloom.
yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Very,
absolutely.
very personal item.
And there's a bunch of that type of stuff in the museum, surprisingly, of somebody having some sort of connection with it, and a lot of religious things that very similar to my grandfather's painting story, where it kind of comes alive and tells them, gives them reassurance that everything's going to be okay. It's weird. It's weird. It's like all these signs of whatever you believe in being true to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
How big is the painting?
I would say about 3 foot or so.
Yeah,
That's
it's
4 by
a-
4.
Yeah,
it's
it's
about-
a big,
yeah.
about
it's a
3.
pretty big painting.
Yeah,
So
about
you
3
can't
by 2.
bring it.
We'd have to
wondering
carry it
why
in separately.
2 years, now you haven't brought it. And I think Scott would like to see it.
Woody?
Well, next year we're going there. So.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
did I
there you
tell
go,
you?
yeah.
Did I
Go to
tell
the
you that
dark
we
room.
had to have a rule that you cannot touch or kiss any of our items now because of that painting?
Really?
We did
I
an
don't think
event in
Scott
New
was tempted
Jersey.
to.
And just so
Someone
you
kissed
know,
some
I'm
really ultra religious
totally
person
fine with
kissed
that.
the Jesus
Yes,
painting.
because
Really?
somebody walked up to us and was like, "Why is there a lipstick mark on the glass of the painting?" And at first, I didn't remember
of that painting.
of
Of
his
his
yeah,
painting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they
Yeah.
must have seen it when we weren't looking. They leaned over and kissed it because they must have
Which
seen
is
it
a-
as a
it's-
miracle.
And it's
and
like
so
a Catholic thing, yeah. You
Right.
kiss
So-
the feet.
But
and
I had to
everyone
have
else.
a rule for
Yeah.
everybody coming in. I was like, "Please don't touch or kiss any of our items." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Just don't do it.
Yeah, just
Just don't do it."
I have a velvet painting
He's
of
very
dogs
ticklish.
playing poker, and I have
You
a
always
problem with
kiss it?
people kissing it all the time.
Rules are always made because somebody did something.
because someone did something.
That's it.
Right, I know. Even the most
No,
ridiculous.
but you know
rule.
what? Religious people, stuff like that is
Yeah.
so moving to
Oh,
them
yeah.
that
Yes.
sometimes they can't
I
help
Absolutely.
themselves.
I couldn't be mad. I just had to make sure that was
Yeah.
You
clear.
gotta set that
No,
boundary,
s-
though.
Yeah.
Someone may have seen that and been so moved by
Right.
it that
Oh,
they
absolutely.
might not even realize they were doing it. They were so moved by
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely
But I
could have
understand. Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, just because I don't want like anybody coming in and going, "Well, I kissed a painting and now I feel really uncomfortable everywhere I go." I'm like, "Well,
Right.
why'd you kiss the painting?"
Yeah,
Well, you
right.
sucked something right out of it.
Like,
into
what?
your
Yeah, you
mouth.
suck Jesus' toes. Come on, leave him alone.
Yeah, I sucked
Ray
Jesus'
Romano.
toes. Now I got a hole in my
You
lip.
ready? Ray Romano as Jesus.
Oh, Jesus. What you got to suck my toes for? Come on. Now I'm
is
stuck
happening?
here hanging in the air. Oh, you got me hanging over here. What?
They
I
take
know,
they
I'm
take
sorry.
it to some strange place.
Yeah, I know. I was like, "Wait,
Any
I love
chance
it.
I could do an impression, I
I love what he does.
That's great.
Gilbert Godfrey as Pontius Pilate.
I didn't do anything. Why is everyone blaming me?
Sorry.
You said crucify him.
Wow, that was actually a really good impression.
That's
All right.
my favorite. That's
that
my
one was
favorite.
good. That one was good.
My favorite.
Oh, you don't like
Gilbert.
Ray Romano?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That-
All right, let's.
That was an amazing story on the
That
on
definitely.
the
Yeah.
rosaries.
No, that's a good one.
So let's move on to our
That was like
friend
a
the
palate
clown.
cleanser.
Yes,
Yes.
Cody, you're
To get
clown.
to,
You're
like,
doing the
something
clown.
All right.
you know.
Oh,
Now maybe my mind's playing tricks with me, but that clown looks like it turned towards Tom a little bit.
could have.
Did
See,
you
I
move
think
it?
I think it turned towards us.
Well,
no.
that's
I think his
actually
face
its
was-
claim. So that's
His
really
claim
weird.
is it spins. That's a claim.
I swear to God,
I thought he was facing Tom before, and now he's a little
it
more
does look
forward.
like it's moved
We're gonna
Yeah.
have to look
since
back.
the first time I looked
Yeah,
at it.
Check
we
the
will.
video.
We're gonna have to look
Yeah,
back
we'll have to
because
look.
that's the
Anybody
only
watching
thing he does.
notice?
yeah. At the beginning, I adjusted him, but ever since then, I haven't touched
I don't think
him.
I touched him. I
Because
know I adjusted this
After
so
we
that people
after
could
we
see it,
talked
but-
about Jolene,
Yeah.
when we were talking about which one we were going to talk about next.
I
don't
thought
know.
he was facing
I-
Tom
I-
more.
Well, we
Yeah.
keep him under glass because he moves.
That's a
Wow.
claim. He spins around and stuff. So his story was a guy who lives alone in a condo complex in
Of course,
Connecticut,
he has a clown.
Connecticut or Pennsylvania. One of the
Connecticut
Pennsylvania.
again.
It was Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
All right.
All right, so
Don't shit on Connecticut.
I'm just saying it's a creepy place.
no, yeah, we love Connecticut. So Pennsylvania.
Just say it like that. We love Connecticut.
A lot of creepy shit in Connecticut. There really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
Like Scott.
So Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So, so this guy, he lives alone in a condo, and he's walking around a secondhand store, thrift store, or something. And this is a really strange claim that is actually really common, that people get this magnetic pull.
It was a marketplace, and he just felt like he had to.
Gets this magnetic pull to purchase something, and this is what happened to this guy. He got this magnetic pull to purchase this clown figurine that probably was made by the thousands at one point in time in some factory, you know.
Yeah.
So, but something happened to this one apparently before it ended up inside of the secondhand store that we just don't know what happened. So anyway, he paid the couple bucks for it and brings it home, and he places it on his nightstand table in his bedroom. Something is telling him to do this, and he put on the nightstand table. So he puts it on the nightstand table and goes to bed, and he wakes up early in the morning to what sounds like, as he described it, a maniacal laughing coming from everywhere, but from nowhere at the same time. That was his words. So what he meant by that, every time he thought it was coming from the right, he'd look over to the right, and it would start coming from the left. He'd look over to the left, start coming from the right. So eventually he looks over at the clown on the nightstand table and claims that it started sliding towards him on the table. Absolutely freaks him out. He wasn't into the paranormal at all. He grabs his keys and runs out of the house and drives about 45 minutes away to his brother's house and starts pounding on the door, yelling to let him in. The brother thought he was nuts, but let him in eventually and convinced him to spend the night there. So the next night comes, and the brother's like, when are you going home? Because I'm not going home until you go get the clown out of the house. So, the brother wanted him gone, so he goes to the condo and takes one of the brother's shirts, wraps up the clown, and puts it on the front steps, and we get the call to come pick it up. Now, once the clown has been removed, we always, check up on the client, a couple weeks after, just to see how they're doing. And again, people who have this magnetic pull claim always seem, after the case, to wonder why that they did this. I hate clowns. That's what he's saying. I hate clowns. Why did I buy this?
Why did I buy it? Yeah.
So it's like something is like inside of these people telling them to purchase this. That's a little beyond just a psychological phenomena.
And he hasn't done too much.
He hasn't done too much. So we also found that there's this acclimation period with objects that once they get sent to the museum out of their normal environment, that usually they don't do anything. When we put them in through this quarantine period for 2 weeks, 9 times out of 10, nothing happens.
They're in like a separate room from everything else for that
cameras,
quarantine period.
Right, just to kind of get a baseline of what's going on, because every object has a case file, and we always like to start off fresh. And this object didn't do anything. It didn't do anything for about a year and a half, and then one day we just find it turned. And and that's kind of happened a few times since then, since it's been in the museum, with no explanation. I mean, we tried to recreate everything that happens. We tried to recreate the Liza video. We obviously couldn't do that. Tried recreating this, and maybe over time, maybe something shakes and slowly it turns. That was thrown out the door right away because it has some weight to it. We couldn't explain it. But a lot of people that have come in contact with this was on our library circuit for a while when we do our library talks, and a lot of people would come up to it and say that they feel strange and things like that. So I think it's like a big case study when you talk to a bunch of random people that don't know each other and they're all experiencing the same thing, kind of like with Jolene, all the men that are experiencing something. It kind of adds to the case file that maybe there is something paranormal going on. Why would all these people be experiencing the same thing?
Right.
So yeah, that's the clown.
Now, did you catch anything when it moved? Have you ever seen it on camera, like time lapse over like a 2-hour period? Because obviously it's not moving like immediately. It seems like it's a slow progression.
It is.
Have you ever caught anything on camera?
It is a slow progression, and that's something that we need to work out because the hard drives loop over after a certain amount of time, and I think by the time we noticed that it was turned, it was kind of too late at that point. So we have it set up now for that if that was to ever happen again. But we haven't recorded him moving. But it is one thing that has definitely happened, and it's definitely strange. Personally, I don't feel anything off of him. But again, some people do.
Like I said, I don't feel anything, but for some reason now, as I look at it, I see more of a side profile than when I looked at it before.
Right.
It seemed like I saw more of the back of the head. See, you think you saw more of the face. I think I saw more of the back of the head. So who knows? It could be. Could be all in our heads too.
It
could be.
Or it could just be somebody playing a trick.
But it's weird that that's the claim.
Yeah.
That's
that was the claim before we even told you it, so that was a little
That's
strange.
weird.
Did you guys put it in the glass case?
Yeah.
Yes, because we didn't want him to move and maybe fall off a shelf and break, and then we have to deal with somebody mad.
So the person you got it from didn't have it in the case. He just had the clown itself standing.
Right, and the whole reason for the case wasn't to contain a spirit or anything. It's just because that claim of sliding off the table.
Yeah, just to keep him in place.
Yeah. Can
I turn him?
Absolutely, you can. Yeah.
Just want to take a look at him.
Sure.
Oh, this is heavy.
He's turning.
It's heavier than.
Oh my God! It does turn. So it's what is it? Porcelain?
Porcelain.
Yeah, it looks like
It's
it.
like porcelain and glass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how Satori is already ready to move on to the next one.
Oh, I'm just holding her.
She gets so
grabbed her.
excited.
I'm just holding
I
her.
just
Hold her
love
close.
it. No,
It looks
yeah.
like it's got some age to it too.
It does, yeah.
It's
it does.
Definitely
But like you said-
handmade. At least the head looks like it's been put on separately from the rest.
It looks like, yeah,
because it's not
different material or
shiny,
something,
right?
Yeah,
it's like a matte finish.
It's not
The
shiny
hands
like
and
the rest,
head are matte,
and
yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I could see some metal in it someplace.
Maybe.
Unless-
But like you said, it was probably mass produced at
Absolutely.
some point.
Absolutely.
You know.
I'm sure it
It's
was.
just the paint, I guess. It looked like there was like a little metal barb there, but I guess it's just paint.
Oh, maybe.
Going around it.
Yeah.
But was there any kind of a name on this, or a manufacturer, or
I
No.
sculptor, or
don't
anything?
believe so.
No.
His name is Scotty the
Like something
Clown.
that you could research. To
Yeah,
see
no.
what it is?
Really?
With this
We gotta
one
go
there
there?
was. But,
With
but
this one there
We
is.
always try to, for sure.
But there's no maker's mark
I'm going to set it
on
up just like
Jolene
this,
or
so
the
we'll
clown.
know if it moves.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
There it is. Nice and straight.
Yep, it's facing straight like that.
All right.
Everyone's watching at home like this
Yeah,
on
we're all
their screens.
watching.
All right.
Let's go.
And now for the piece of Reese's Pieces.
There it is.
So this is a tree topper angel. Wow. All right. And she has the nickname Angel of Fire. She was actually nicknamed, not to scare Scott, Death Angel by the family in which she came from. And no, she's not a darker item. She just has a very, I guess, scary story. So a woman was...
Some people would think she's a dark item.
Some people would. She's just never done anything to lead us to believe
Not
in the
to us,
museum that we need to worry about her. Well, not really like
Well.
well, not anything that's like, wow, this
Fire
is
related anyway.
deadly.
They're arguing
well-
over whether she's dark or not. This is not good.
So no,
On
she's,
second thought,
well, she
She's
kind of
always
no,
been
she really hasn't.
respectful.
Well, maybe.
she's always been respectful.
But
Yeah.
done some questionable things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we, a family in Massachusetts, a woman was walking through, a secondhand store, and she finds this tree topper angel.
Again, magnetic pull.
It's a Gifts of Gorham is what we were able to find, about 70s, 80s, I believe. It's just cardboard with porcelain hands and head. And she fell in love with the angel. She was like, oh, we have live Christmas trees every year. Bring it home, put it on top of the Christmas tree. The kids, the family will love it. She has 2 kids and a husband. So she takes the item back home, and they have their real Christmas tree. That's their family tradition. They take the tree topper and put it on top of the tree. Everything seems perfect. They go to bed that night and wake up to the smell of smoke, but no smoke alarms going off. They run downstairs to the tree is a stick. It's not on fire anymore. It looks like it was on fire and put itself out, and the angel is sitting on top of it. Now, that's the story that we were told. She was perfectly fine. They were terrified. They thought, they could have slept through an entire fire, and they didn't know what to do. So they immediately go, well, it's not Christmas yet. We need a new tree. We need to change all of the electrical stuff, because if it was an electrical fire that somehow put itself
Husband
out.
was an electrician, so
Yes,
that's the
he's-
first thing he
he's
did.
looking over everything. They called the security company because the smoke alarm was with the security stuff, and they were like, no, I can't tell you why it didn't go off, but we'll make sure everything's replaced. The batteries are good. Everything's going good. So if anything happens again, that you guys will have notification of it. So they get a new Christmas tree. Again, this is Christmas of 2019.
Bought some fire extinguishers just in case.
Yes, and they get a new Christmas tree, fire extinguishers, set her back on the tree because the mom says, well, maybe she's a good luck angel. She put out the fire. So maybe this is something that's protecting us. So put her back on the tree, go to bed, smoke. Wake up to the smell of smoke again. They run downstairs and they say they saw the tree actively on fire. It started catching some of the curtains. It was in like this little divot side of the house, they described it, kind of like a little corner where the house comes out. They said the fire started moving and they were able to put it out. They were absolutely terrified. They said, enough of Christmas of 2019. We're done. We're not doing this anymore.
Right.
So they put everything in the attic. They just celebrate Christmas as usual without the tree. The children between Christmas of 2019 and Christmas of 2020 started having nightmares. They started seeing a woman. They were in 2 different rooms. They were dreaming of this woman that had some weird... I guess the only way you could say it is like she had
Deformities
some deformities, like her limbs were in,
not where they should be.
Yeah.
Yes. So they were terrified because they were saying the same things over and over
Which
again.
is pretty much impossible. 2 kids, separate ages, not twins, because that's been reported, but having same dream on the same night, down the hall from each other. That's really strange.
Mm-hmm.
So Christmas of 2020 comes, and they get a new Christmas tree, and they find the angel in the attic, and the mom says, we got to put her back on the tree. I feel like we have to put her back on the tree. Maybe
I would have
last year
gotten
was
a fake
different.
tree at this point. By the 3rd
Yeah.
year,
The
fake
hus-
tree.
That's what the husband wanted
was
all
like,
that.
no.
And then if it catches on fire, all right, it's that fucking angel.
Yeah.
But
The husband
Sorry.
said no. The husband was like, I don't feel comfortable with this, but she convinced him, and so he put it on the tree.
Drink up, Scott.
They went to bed, wake up to the smell of smoke. They run downstairs.
I knew it.
The side of the house is actually completely caught. Everything, the side of the house is completely engulfed in flames, they said. The only one statement I will forever remember is they looked at me while giving this item and they were like, we were lucky to get our kids out alive because they said the fire was moving. Now, this is a story we were told.
So wait, here's the best part. So they move houses, right?
Yes, they relocated houses.
They relocate house, and of course the old house is getting ready to be demolished or whatever they're going to do with it. And when the fire department puts out a fire, usually they have to do some sort of study or whatever. They bring in a specialist to do that.
Yeah, the fire investigator.
Right. So anyway, somehow the wife goes over to the old house and walks into it and finds the angel and puts it in a
The husband said it
grocery
just
bag.
appeared, like it just appeared, but she must have gone and
brings it back.
brought it home. It somehow was survived the fires.
So obviously now
It's like she's attached to
there's
it.
an attachment for sure, and the husband's doing his best to convince her that something is going on.
So
and
we go to the new house and it's just waiting there, and he's like, it's not going to be in our home any longer. It's leaving. And after a while, after we took it, you saw that she started to realize what was going on. She started coming out of it, and she was like, okay, maybe there was some sort of attachment. Like, I felt the need to keep doing this. But we took the angel. We were a little skeptical of the story. We were like, okay,
Big time.
a tree topper angel not catching on fire, but the house is catching on fire. So we were a little skeptical. We brought her home. She was covered in this dirt, we thought. We cleaned her off. Quarantine went fine. Put her in a case in the museum. And one day before we did a live stream, Cody goes to take her out of the case. The day before, or a couple days before, I said she may never prove her claim during an interview. And I'm not sure if she took that as, you want to see me prove my claim or what. So Cody takes her out of the case. And I say, don't move, because she's absolutely covered in this gray substance, this gray and black substance. And it was a little circle in the case of where under her tree topper piece. And we were instantly like, there had to have been a fire. So we're checking everything. It doesn't seem like there was any fire damage anywhere. All the outlets look fine near her. And I was like, Cody, something happened. And we sat down in the chair, and during our live stream, we look up, and on the wall right behind where we do our live streams, it looks like 3 fingerprints moved across the wall, almost like a little symbol of, I'm here. I did something. So we were absolutely amazed. We bleach tested it, which we were given the recommendation to do. And if it stayed black on a bleached Q-tip, then that means it's a soot-like substance. And we did, and it stayed black. So we believe it's a soot-like substance. We don't think it's mold because it comes off. It's like dust. It's like some sort of dark dust.
Well, and if you put bleach on mold, it's going to kill
It's
it.
gonna, it's
Yeah.
gonna be gone.
right.
So
be gone.
we cleaned her off. Christmas of 2021, we have her in the museum, and we had to have a live camera and an
Yeah, I was
extinguisher
like, shit,
nearby.
Christmas
because
is coming.
She kept getting more and more covered. Every day she was just getting more and more covered, to the point where now when we had to travel with her, we had to clean her off because you couldn't see any of the features of her. She was just absolutely covered. So we had to clean her off, and you can actually still see some of it.
I was just
on
going to
her.
say, I saw a black spot on her, or a gray spot.
Ace, do you want to reach for her?
Yeah.
Come on, Scott.
She's in a case. She's in a case. She's
Okay.
fine.
You can see.
Yeah. You can see the black.
There's soot,
soot.
black soot all over.
Make sure you show it to the camera too.
Yeah, let me see. I'll take her over.
Just be careful. Hold the case tight.
Does she smell like burn, like smoke?
Sometimes.
Right after she smelled like there was something, a little bit of something.
So right after you discover the
Right
the
after.
Yeah,
But
you can
after
see
a
the
while,
soot in
it
there.
doesn't smell like anything.
Yeah.
It smells
Yeah.
like it's like she makes a fire happen without a fire. That's
It's
the way
weird.
that this activity is happening. and
whatever
that's
she's
why-
connected to is the fire, but she herself
Right.
not as much.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
almost like there's
Kind
this
of a
protected
spontaneous
bubble around.
combustion.
It's almost we
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
said thank you for proving your claim without causing any danger to the museum or the
Of
items
course.
because I think that's her respect. We want to show you that we can do. I want to show you I can do something without endangering anyone.
Yeah.
And so that's what we believe she's doing, and that's why we were like, we're not going to put you in the dark section because you're not actually giving us any danger. You're just showing what's going
You're
on.
just showing.
Have you ever heard of a phenomena like that before?
I have never heard of
No.
anything like this
Anything-
before. That doesn't mean there isn't, but
No, but I'm just saying in your experience.
Yeah, I guess the closest thing, like Tom mentioned, is spontaneous combustion or something like that. But
Yeah,
as
that's
far
usually
as
something that's alive.
yeah, usually
Yeah,
it's something
right.
alive, and usually the person ends up passing away or something like that if they're
Right.
involved in it. And the only thing with that is
She's
it's
still
contained
intact.
to a certain spot, and the fire starts spontaneously.
Right.
This starts spontaneously, but for some reason it's protected, which
There's
is
gotta be
weird.
a
and
history
we
here.
have
Yeah.
put her on a we have never put her on a Christmas tree just in the museum because we feel like that's a level of respect. We did at one investigation an experiment outside with fire extinguishers present because somebody was like, we were really interested in just seeing if anything happens. We're like, okay, well, we want
was a
to
fake
watch
tree.
her. It was a fake tree. It was very controlled. We're like, okay, we'll put her on the tree and just watch what happens from a distance. And the only thing that happened was the lights on the Christmas tree started flickering, and then a fire truck went by the house
Really?
and then turned and came by. No sirens. It was just the lights were on and it was
so
doing a loop around the
strange.
neighborhood
It
at that
absolutely
exact
could have
time.
been a coincidence.
It was
but-
almost like it could have been a coincidence,
Yeah.
but I was like, maybe it's a please stop doing this.
Right.
So that's
Was
when we
it
took her
Christmas
off.
time when you did the experiment?
It was
It
Was it
was
maybe
like
a Christmas
November.
related?
I think it
end
was
of
like
around
November-ish.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
October, November.
Now, you
Last
know what's
year, yeah.
crazy is just the coincidence of I had no idea what they were going to bring today. And I
The
picked
angel.
up Angel's Envy bourbon.
Yeah, I know.
And I had no idea what artifacts they were bringing. I could have gotten,
Yeah, what a coincidence.
clown bourbon for all I know. But I picked up Angel's Envy. We've drank it
Clown
before. But I was like,
Do they
yeah,
make
Angel's Envy,
clown
that's-
bourbon?
I don't know. There'll be a bourbon on the table with that label on it next week just to fuck with you.
I feel like
that's
with this,
crazy,
there's like
right?
maybe an attachment of a history of somebody who may have died in a fire. And
Maybe
this
they
was
don't
on
like
the tree.
Christmas. It was just a
Right.
very
Their
traumatic.
energy
Or died at
transferred
Christmas in a
over
fire?
to it,
Well, we actually have a Patreon set up, and
Oh, yeah.
some of the patrons in our group were showing us articles, and we can't say where this item came from before the secondhand store
Right.
in Massachusetts.
Right.
But for some reason, and it's just a coincidence, there was a fire of a young girl.
It was like a string of fire up the East Coast that this same phenomena was happening.
And
at,
the
yeah.
young girl died, and they said they saw a soot angel at the scene. It was just a soot outline after she had passed away in the fire. And one of the people that survived the fire, that was also a child, said that she's still here and she's around.
Really?
But ever since that, if you follow up all the claims of fires around Christmas, it just keeps going up the coast until it got to Massachusetts and into the year. So it's really strange. I'm not sure if there's any connection, but it was a strange
Yeah,
coincidence
that's
also.
definitely it.
Yes.
Wow.
Weird.
Have you ever had mediums discuss or inspect any of your items?
We've
Make
had
connections?
a couple mediums come in. Some mediums have come in and, they like to cause trouble because they want to seem like they're a medium, but they're really not, and I
Yeah.
can tell they're not.
Yeah.
Right.
And, they're like, oh, there's nothing, haunted objects, there's no such thing as haunted objects and stuff. And I'm like, okay, you can say what you want. I disagree with you. Then we've had some mediums come in where they've just said things to us that made perfect sense to us, but then they come into our museum and they're like, I can only be in here for a couple. I feel like so many people are trying to talk
Yeah,
to me
there's
right
gotta be
now.
so much.
They've come up to
Right.
our items and they've asked for permission to touch some of them. We felt comfortable. I was like, go ahead. They touched it. They told us everything everything that the
Without
person's
knowing
claiming.
the
Without we didn't
backstory
have
at
the
all.
descriptions out. They've told us the claims. They were like, "There's somebody here that does this, this, and this," and we're like, "That's phenomenal that you're able to pick up on that." Somebody has come up to the angel and said, "I'm seeing a woman, but something's wrong. Like she has some sort of," and I was like,
Which is weird.
and I was like, "That's really strange."
That was the weirdest
And now
one.
none of that
None of
info
that's
is
on
on
the
your
description.
website or
No.
anything like that,
Not at
like the
all.
descriptions.
No, we try to keep the descriptions as short as possible.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I don't even think we mentioned the kids were having dreams.
Yeah, we've had people.
Before,
We have
yeah.
a fire truck where the claim is to see a young boy.
We
in
brought
a-
that last year.
in
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
A
that's right. Remember
hospital
the
gown?
fire truck and the boy in the hospital
Yeah.
gown?
and
yeah.
the kid claiming to see a kid with medical germs. A woman that was more sensitive to the paranormal. She told me, she sent me a message. She was like, "By the way, I'm seeing something. I'm seeing this brick building. It looks like a hospital. Looks like a kid was given this present by so and so." And I was like, "That's so strange because I'm not telling you all this information that
And
it
you're
seems
telling
like."
me. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's there's some mediums that I'm like, this is
It's
there's
real.
something going on
Yeah.
There's
here.
a few legit ones out there. But
There are.
Yes.
like you said,
Absolutely,
most of
yeah.
them are just trying
Most of them, yeah.
trying to tell you what you want.
And then
to
there are some where I'm not necessarily believing that they're a true medium, but they even come in and they're like, there's something going on. And they say things, and I'm like, well, maybe you're more sensitive.
Yeah,
than-
maybe they're not a medium, but they're sensitive
Yes.
to energies.
Yes.
Right.
So,
I'm sensitive.
yes.
Wow.
That's a really good story.
But did you like those stories?
Those are fantastic.
Yeah? At least you learned something.
The angel one.
See, I
just
thought
is
you were
like-
saying that because you had something in
Yeah,
the
like a-
suitcase
she was
out
building
there
up
like,
to the grand
oh,
finale.
we've got
We
one
have.
more thing. Yeah. Behind curtain number one.
Well, if you like those,
Yeah.
I'd be like, check your back pocket. We have an item that we actually
I
snuck
mean,
in there.
we planted something on you right now.
That was an awfully big suitcase. There may be more in there. I'm just saying.
Now, when are they going to give you guys your own TV show? I ask you this every time I see
Yeah.
you. I'm getting tired of you not being on television. Like, I've been enthralled by all your stories.
Oh.
You know,
you could
And it
literally
takes a
do
lot to
a half-hour
impress him,
episode on
seriously.
these
I know.
items.
that's
Little
so
time.
sweet. That's so sweet. And the answer we'll just keep saying that is maybe one day. We're not really looking. We're not those people going out there going, we need a TV show. We need all this
Right,
attention.
right.
We're the
Well,
best.
I'm talking
We're-
to the TV executives who watch this show regularly.
Yeah.
Sign
Yeah,
us
yeah,
up.
'cause
we have a lot of those.
So many TV executives
you
are watching
never know
behind
when
the
you're gonna
funny.
get discovered.
That's true, yeah.
Because there's a lot of crap on television, and your show. I mean, I watch you guys on the internet all the time.
Oh, yeah.
and I
Right.
don't watch a lot of stuff. I don't even watch this show on the internet.
He doesn't.
He just pops on, likes it,
But
and
I
then
watch
pops
what
off.
you guys do, and I think it would be a great. I mean, they've been shows about people who collect haunted things before.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And I haven't found them to be all that impressive.
Yeah.
And and a lot of times it's not their fault. It's the TV executives,
The way-
producers and stuff.
yeah.
But if they were able to
the
let you guys
suits.
do a show the way you want to do it, I think it would be awesome. I mean, there could be reenactment or something.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
Yeah.
all kinds of interesting
Absolutely.
stuff. And it's something different than just running around screaming after ghosts that they do on these shows.
Come at me, bro.
Let's put some headphones on
Yeah.
and pretend the ghosts are talking to us.
if there's
again.
one lesson
Right.
I could say, please do not go come at me, bro. And I'm
yeah, exactly.
No,
that's
no,
going to
no.
be the name of the next
at me,
Instagram
bro.
show.
That ruins everything.
Yeah. That's good. That's going to be my show. Come at me,
Come
bro.
at me, bro.
No, we say that to hecklers in the
Yeah,
audience.
right. And sometimes they do.
And yeah, they actually take us up on that.
Oh,
Sometimes.
jeez.
Wow. This was. I'm so glad you guys came in again. This is so awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Seriously, anytime you guys want to come back on, it doesn't have to be Scottober. We could do it all year round.
Yeah.
This is
yeah.
fun.
Ace is he was
Yeah.
as giddy as a schoolgirl last week.
Are you kidding?
We finished up our episode last week. He goes, "You know what? Who we're having next week?"
He goes, we're starting the month with that.
Oh,
son of
really?
a-"
That's the first episode out of the gates. You can't ease me in a little
We
bit.
should
No
have
way.
different themes. Like we'll bring famous location items.
Yeah.
We'll bring
yeah.
all sorts of stuff.
I'm a huge history person, so if
Yeah.
you
Oh,
have
we got
stuff,
a lot of that, yeah.
right? Anything that has a historical context to it,
lot of
I
that.
will eat that up.
She's looking like,
We
ooh,
have
there's
a lot
that
of that.
soldier's helmet
we
from
just got a
Gettysburg.
couple of really cool things. We've got
Yeah?
we have an item from
Some
Gettysburg, a couple
stuff
things
from
like that.
Gettysburg?
We just
Yeah.
got a piece of the original Hollywood sign into the museum.
Did you really?
We did.
Yeah.
We did with some other items that are coming, but I can't talk about that yet.
Oh, I'm all in for any of that stuff.
I smell Manson family
Do
murder.
you guys have
It's
No.
the piece of it's the piece of the wall that says "Helter Skelter"
Yeah.
in blood.
You guys, like you, Scott and Ace
Yeah.
just went on their first investigation like a month ago. Or
Yeah.
so, but
Yeah.
you
And
guys
I would
need
go
to-
on another one. I would go on
Yeah.
another one.
Well, we
you
will.
need to do one with these two. Investigating
be
with
so
these
awesome.
two is really
Different.
really cool and
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
interesting, different. I mean, it's because I've been investigating for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
I've done investigations with Cody a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And then with the two of them as well. And it's just they're really in touch
Mm-hmm.
with what's going on spiritually in a room.
It's a good way to put
Like
it.
I'm not
yeah.
gonna like
That's
talk
a good
about
way to
Well-
put
It was
what
like
you
a
guys do
pun.
it or-
You're really in touch
Yeah.
with what's going on.
Well, yeah. Well,
That's a
there's
good
tons
way to-
involved.
yeah.
I will say Scott did a very good job. I mean, yes, and we don't want to give anything away
Yeah.
on our Payne House
Oh, yeah.
investigation because we're going to have Ken on at the end
Yeah.
of the month, and
That's right.
we're gonna play some of the stuff. But he did a really good job, and now
I maintained my
Ken-
composure.
And now Ken is has reached out to him about doing something at the Bradley. And I know that I just saw some postings about the Conjuring House
Conjuring
for
House, right.
the after the first of the year. So maybe we could all coordinate a night that we're all going to go to the
Absolutely.
Conjuring House.
We'll freak you out, but yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
I think he needs
Yeah.
to do the Bradley first because he's
Do it.
comfortable there. He already knows
Right.
that. You should see if they want to come to the Bradley.
More
Well,
than
they
one.
have
That
to
would be
come
fun.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I mean, you're inviting Rise Up, so they're
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
be there.
they'll be tagging
Yeah.
along for sure.
Yeah, it's a almost 140-year-old vaudeville theater,
Beautiful.
and it does have a few stories
Mm-hmm.
attached to it. And I've told Ken the stories, and
So that'd be great to
you
have
know,
them on
it-
that
he
investigation.
wants to do an investigation there, so I'm trying to set it up for him.
Beautiful.
And then after the first of the year, we'll do another one, and we'll record all of these, and then that'll be Scottober next year.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
wow.
It should just be a
You
compilation
get
video.
far too excited over
Listen,
this
dude,
stuff.
I'm ready to ditch the comedy shit
Yeah, I
and
know,
do a
just
fucking
do this.
paranormal
He's full, yeah, we're
podcast all
we're
the
going to
time.
start a second podcast all on paranormal.
Hey,
There you
nice.
go.
It gets
He
very
is
interesting.
so in on it.
It's
You
going to
should.
be Scott Shits His Pants Weekly.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's just going to be the name
That's
of the
the
podcast.
name of the podcast.
There you
Yeah.
go.
What does Scott shit his pants over this week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like that idea actually.
That's actually really good.
Tom's
Yeah,
all in.
A lot of these other shows, they're just not as interesting.
Well, we're
no.
just going to call it Scaredy Scott. Yeah, that's going to be the name of the podcast.
See, eventually,
Scaredy Scott.
we'd have to keep outdoing ourselves, and you'd becoming a little more numb to everything.
That's the
and-
thing.
yeah,
even
that would be the
I
challenge.
like I said at the Payne House, he kept his composure for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah, and now he's not afraid to do another one.
Now
Where he
he-
was
yeah.
really nervous about doing that first.
4 years ago, would you ever think we
No,
would have gotten
yeah,
him at
no,
the
not at
Payne
all.
House when you first came on?
And we got
Last
him under
year,
the
I didn't
headphones
think
to do
that.
the Estes
No,
method.
I wouldn't
know.
have thought you ever would
was
have gone to
crazy.
someplace like that.
I
Yeah.
was bullied into doing the Estes method.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
sometimes
We'll
pressure
discuss later.
works.
I was bullied by everybody in that room,
did.
especially him. I'm sitting outside of him. He goes, "Come on, you pussy! Come on! It's just headphones. Big deal."
But
That's
you
true.
thought it was cool though.
I
at the
know.
end.
Sorry, sweetheart.
After you did it.
Don't touch her.
You have beautiful
You're gonna
hair.
take her home.
Yep, that's it.
Uh-oh.
She's coming home with you. You're gonna find a shoe outside.
Look at Satori's face. She's like, "Oh shit, he touched her." You think
find
alcohol's gonna help? This is no toe tag, buddy.
Name the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
You remember that last
that
year?
was awesome. Toe tag
She's
was
coming
great.
with us. No worries.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Please. That's all. I
She set
need
the
is
ground
my-
rules before they came.
my
We're going
kids
on.
would be
all
We're
freaked
going on a
out.
field trip, and
Yep.
you're coming
And
back
That's
with
exactly
us.
what I said.
Really?
I
Yes.
believe you.
That's exactly what I
I
said.
figured.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah, she
Thank
did.
you.
Well, it's funny because this house was built in 2001.
Sure.
And so my oldest daughter, who you're going to meet in a couple of minutes, swears that she saw a light, like not an orb, not like a dust orb. She swears she saw a light floating down here. My ex-wife swears she saw the same thing. And when I said to your father, because I was trying to put my daughter's mind at ease, and I go, "Yeah, Jason, come on, like the house isn't that old. It's not like we're on an
Doesn't
ancient
matter.
burial ground."
Yeah.
He said that, and my daughter went freaked out. She's like, "See, I told you what I saw."
Yeah. Doesn't
Yeah, it
matter.
doesn't
So-
matter.
Yeah.
He picked me up at my house one day. My house was built in 1910.
Oh yeah.
Oh, geez.
His house is old.
And he's like, "That house is really old." I go, "Yeah, it was built in 1910." I said, "I have a dumbwaiter in the house and everything."
Wow.
And he's like, "Oh, it's definitely haunted." And I didn't sleep for 3 nights after I said that.
The older the house, the more chance, but it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. That's so
and
crazy.
I've learned that
Yes.
over the last 4 years
Yes.
that doesn't guarantee
But-
anything.
So let me ask you, what would have made something like this, which was just woods, prior to the house being here, the original owners, I bought off of them. They lived here for 5 years. I bought it from them. There were no like tragic deaths in the house or anything like that. So what would attach to...
It could be an object, right?
It could be. It
could
depends
be.
on what was brought in your
Attachment.
home. But we've had multiple cases around here where we believe there was a Native American or
And
indigenous.
think about it. The trees around here, they're not as
They're
big
very
as
old.
round.
Yeah.
So they could be old, right? But there might not have always been trees. They could have been trees
There
for
could have
hundreds
been
of years.
farming land.
No,
there
you
could
know
be
what? You're
indigenous
right.
tribes and civilizations here. So
I'm guessing that there wasn't always trees.
You know
here.
what? You're right, because when Ken was here and we were talking about the Payne house, which is only a mile down
Right,
the street,
which was a lot of land at the time.
and
yeah.
he said a lot of it was orchards, and they used to make ciders and wines and
could be
stuff
workers,
like that. So
could be orchard owners, could be could be so many.
And there was
things.
so many buildings around here in the
the mill
Coventry area,
buildings, yeah.
and that a lot of them were burned down,
Right.
And the Payne House, luckily, was the only one that really survived,
Right.
Because it was a tavern.
I
you know
guess
what I mean? So-
that makes sense, because as much as, like you said, they're woods, they're not old
trees,
like
yeah.
200-year-old trees.
Yeah,
so
there could have been a
Who
structure
the hell
here in the
knows?
1700s.
True.
So yeah.
Maybe the people who previously lived here were into the occult. They were.
Nah, they were
They
Jews.
were. Oh, all right.
Sorry.
Oy vey, Satan, come on
Listen.
in, you bastard. Bring a nice cavilta fish while you're here.
Hey, get your
You
spirit off my
bastard,
lawn.
Satan.
It's Yom Kippur. Let's not shit on the
Don't-
Jewish people.
don't let
I just said they weren't into the occult because they were Jews.
Satan's not coming in because he hasn't had his that bastard. Let me tell you, Satan. You son of a bitch, you Satan. He hasn't been circumcised. He's not coming
Thank
into
you.
my house. You son of a bitch,
I
you
sense
Satan.
fireballs in my future this week. I sense light orbs and fireballs all
Yeah,
through
they're
my
coming
house.
at you. They're coming.
I
after
went
you.
to Satan's bar mitzvah. That son of a bitch.
He yelled at me. He said I didn't give him a gift.
I didn't get any of the brisket,
All
that
right.
bastard.
All
I had
right.
to have the card. It was terrible.
Oh my God! I wish I could. No, listen. We really appreciate you guys.
we
coming
love
back.
having you
this
guys
is my
on.
favorite episode of the year.
We
It
love
really is.
Love having you guys on.
Yeah.
Seriously,
And I bet
So-
this is
it's
your
so-
favorite episode of Scottober 2022.
It is.
It's the first
so
one, right?
far. Yes.
right out of the gates. We start with a
Yes.
bang.
All downhill
There you
from
go.
It is.
It was one of the most interesting ones last year. It's definitely very interesting. I love the history and the stories behind this
Yeah.
stuff. You guys tell the stories great. The objects you bring in are so interesting because they're always different. They always have a great story behind them. So we appreciate you sharing them.
Thank
Well, good.
you very
Maybe
much.
next year you'll have to come to us.
I would love to.
That would actually be
love
really
to.
cool. We would love to go
We
on
might
location.
have a location really soon.
That'd be
that
cool.
you-
Oh, really?
That you
Excellent,
can,
yeah.
yeah.
That would be so cool. And once, if that happens, let us know. We'd love to promote it for you. And what can we promote for you? As
Yeah,
far as
your
Facebook,
website.
website, anything like that.
Yeah, so the website's paranormalcouple.com or theparanormalcouple.com. It leads to the same place. This fall, we have a lot of, I think, 12 different libraries we're going to in October. Throughout the New England area, where we bring about 6 items from the museum and let people come up close and take pictures and things like that, and we do a presentation on them, as well as we're going to Maine Paracon this October in a couple weeks. That's a big one coming up. And then Facebook is the Paranormal Couples Haunted Museum. Every other Thursday, we do a live show very similar to this from the museum, where we feature a different object every other week. And that's all on our Facebook page, Paranormal Couples Haunted Museum. And really the website, if you click on the events tab, we have some stuff coming up that you can check out. And if you have any questions or you think you have a haunted object and maybe you don't want to get rid of it, you just want some advice, that's usually what we always prefer, is just giving advice. We don't want to take your family heirlooms or anything like that.
Right.
So we always try to give advice to let you coexist with your item. And then if the last resort is sending it to us, then that's perfectly fine as well.
Right.
Just send us an email and we'll help you out.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and listen, just the fact that this is probably the busiest time of year,
It is,
so
yeah.
we really appreciate
Yeah.
that you guys
Of
came on with
course.
us.
No problem.
You know,
No problem.
This was so much fun.
And I will definitely put a link to the website in the
Yes.
show notes. So if you didn't get a chance to catch that, just go right to the show notes, and that link to the website will be right in there for you guys. So
Cool.
Thank
again,
you.
thank you
so much.
so
Thank
very
you
much.
guys
Thank you
so
for
much.
having us.
A
Thanks.
huge thank you to
Thanks, Tom.
our October or Scottober co-host
The third
who
wheel in
will be
October.
here all week.
The third
Nice.
mic,
He'll be here. Yeah, the third mic.
the
He'll be-
Artie Lang
Yeah.
to our to our podcast.
He's there. He's, what are you going to do?
Our Jackie the Joke Man.
Yeah. No.
Tom Stewart.
Tom Stewart.
I'm
And
just here to ask the paranormal question.
yeah,
No, Tom, if it wasn't for you, Scottober wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
It really wouldn't.
Yes.
It wouldn't.
And Scott, and Scott is saying that in a very accusatory way. You know that, right?
Yes.
No, we really,
Complimentary and accusatory at
Yes.
the
at
same
the
time.
same time. Yeah. No, we appreciate it. So for the audience, just so you know, the rest of the month we are going to have next week will be Joe Chin from
Oh,
Ghost Hunters and
awesome.
Ghost Hunters
Oh, wow.
International.
Tell
We
him we
got
said
Joe.
hello.
We definitely
Got to
will.
meet him on our investigation.
He
at
was
the
on
Pain
the
House.
investigation at the
Oh,
Pain
there you
House.
go.
So
He's awesome.
Super guy.
yeah.
That's
Nice guy.
awesome.
So we're gonna have Joe Chin on. The following week, we had to reschedule because thank God, she's safe and she's good. Tom's been talking to her, but we have Andrea Perone coming
Oh,
on.
nice. Yeah.
Oh, that's the week I can't make.
From
Yeah,
Florida.
I can't
Nice.
do
She's
that.
So
awesome.
luckily she's okay. She made it through
Yeah,
the hurricane.
The hurricane
Yeah.
wasn't too bad for her.
That's good.
If
So
she survived the Conjuring House, I'm sure a
She
hurricane
could survive a
is-
hurricane. Yeah. So we've got Andrea Perone coming on, and then to round out the month of Scottober, we have our buddy Ken DaCosta coming on, and we're gonna play some evidence from from the Pain House.
Yeah.
We're gonna tell stories about the investigation itself, and
And there is a funny story that is attached
still
to
have
that,
to
so you'll
review.
have to tune in.
There's
on
a-
that
To
one.
review the audio, we may have caught something.
I know.
yeah, we don't
I
know yet. We're not
we
done
did.
reviewing
We
it.
did catch a couple of things on the
K2 meter.
K2 meter,
was a
which
little
was
bit
pretty
active
cool.
as
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's
Um,
cool. Yep, we did.
But I did recordings in just about every room we went to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
and
we
we don't
may
know
have
what's
caught-
on.
we
there.
don't know. We might
A
catch
lot
something
of the
there.
EVPs at Pain House, or you don't even know they're there until
That's
you've
true.
listened.
Right,
Yeah.
It's
right.
very sneaky.
Yeah.
So and then I took a video of Scott doing the Estes method. So we'll talk a
Yeah.
little bit about what that is,
Yeah.
and then actually I'm working on trying to download the video so we can show it and you can listen to it on the episode. So.
Oh, that's cool.
So we've got a great month of Scottober coming up, folks. We really appreciate you listening to us. As we said at the beginning of the show, find us on Facebook, Behind the Funny. If you enjoy the show, tell a friend about us, 5-star written review. And we also have the Patreon, which is patreon.com/Behind the Funny. If they want to email us, if you have questions for any of our guests ahead of time, they can email us at.
BehindTheFunnyPod@gmail.com.
And other than that,
We will talk to you
next week.